So a question here about the C-section scar and whether that could be a contributing factor to what's happening in the upper neck, which is causing this dizziness and these other symptoms that have been described by this person. So the C-section scar, I don't think, to be honest, is going to be the main contributing factor. It may be a very, very small part, which may be contributing towards it, but usually it's going to be built in with other aspects like our habits, our lifestyles, our stresses, our energy levels, our fatigue, if we do have a lot more fatigue in our general lives. The actual C-section itself, to be honest, is probably more of a big physical effect on the body, which may have been one of the other contributing factors. But in terms of this kind of consistent pulling you mentioned on the fascia, I don't think that would really be something that would pull as much, say, up here to the neck. Usually it's more if something is here, starts to travel further down, rather than things, say, in there affecting the alignment as much that high up. Usually the only things that are going to be having a big effect on alignment higher up, what we call a concussion of forces. And usually, to be honest, is going to have to be something quite big. So someone may have a fall or an accident. Maybe they fall with an outstretched arm, and that can send a concussive force further up the arm, the shoulder to the neck. Or maybe they fall, say, on their backside, on their bum, and then maybe that can send it through the sacrum, up through the spine, and that could start to affect things up top. But again, usually I'm expecting, unless it's something very big and very traumatic, like a big car accident, it's usually going to be a combination of things over time. And like for yourself, we can't just say that everyone who has a C-section is going to experience dizziness, because there are many, many, many women who will not have any kind of side effects like this afterwards. They may have some different side effects, but not usually always going to be something like dizziness. So even though it may be one contributing factor, I'll be honest and say it's probably a smaller aspect of what's going on. We have asked as well about if there's some effects from here that could affect down to the legs, and absolutely. Because if those control centers are affected, number one, it can start to affect the control of your balance, not just, say, up here, but further down. And also because if the information that's coming through from the spinal cord through the brain is not getting properly further down, that can start to have an effect, not just locally on things like the neck, the shoulder, or headaches or dizziness, but it can affect other parts of the body. It can be what we call, to some extent, of an upper motor neuron lesion. So if things are happening higher up, closer to that entrance where the brain starts to feed to the brainstem and then becomes a spinal cord and passes to the rest of your body, that can have a much more wider systemic effect. And generally, these things do not travel up as much, but they do travel down. So this is why I say, and this is something every med student or chiropractor or physiotherapist will do when they're at university, of testing reflexes. And there are certain types of reflexes which will only be affecting in one direction, just because of that nature of how the nerves, the spinal cord, and the brain all work together. So that area I was mentioning is that top part of the spine up here, that would be C1 and C2, and running through the center here is where we have that top part of the spinal cord, and just above that is the brainstem.